If you're one of those people who finds themselves going away in conflict, in conversation, in intimacy, in connection, if you're a workaholic, if you feel like you numb out through different mechanisms in order to not feel too close, this is a video for you. So many people think that avoidant attachment, or really like any attachment style, is a strategy that you have at all times, that you're tied to, and that defines who you are, but this is really not true. So attachment styles are actually on a continuum. And I have avoidant tendencies. I think everybody has avoidant tendencies. My avoidant tendencies, I have discovered, they come out especially in conflict, because there's a lot of pain from my childhood that comes through from conflict, and all I want to do is just hide, is just numb out, is just not be present. And how I experience avoidance is I feel myself going away. So I don't actually physically go away, but I feel myself distancing. I feel myself shutting down, numbing out. Now, for some of my clients, they notice that the transition between, for example, work and then coming home to family life is really, really hard for them. They really struggle with it. They want to stay at work. They want to numb out with work, right? And you could have different strategies. It could be something else for you. It could be scrolling, and I do that. I remember doing that a lot, especially in my marriage, where I would come home and instead of entering the house, I would scroll. I would just scroll for a while, and it's like it gave my system time to sort of like relax. And I wonder if you can relate to that, and please let me know if you can, because that's definitely something I know I experience. And it can be so easy to kind of be really mean to yourself around it and say like, what's wrong with me? Why am I doing this? This is completely subconscious, right? So what's really interesting about our attachment strategies is they really are strategies. That's what they are. They are ways to keep ourselves safe. They are things that we do totally subconsciously. So it's not like you come home from work and you're like, oh my God, I'm really dreading, well, it might be, but most likely you're not like, oh my God, I'm so dreading like seeing my partner or seeing my family or whatever, or even like going from work to being with friends. I'm so dreading this, like it's really hard, so I'm just gonna stay at work longer, and I'm actually gonna work even though I don't really need to. Like all of this is background subconscious programming that is running in our body, in our system, in our minds as well, but really in our body. And what's happening is when you were a child, for whatever reason, you had needs that were not met in relationship, right? It could be, of course, with your parents, caregivers, it could be with other little kids. And what you would do is you would go away because it was too painful. And so you kind of learned to numb out. And all of that pain is sitting right underneath that going away that you do as an adult. So it is a strategy to feel safe. It really is. And a lot of people think that people who are avoidant, the typical like that you see in movies, that is emotionally unavailable, that kind of person doesn't want connection. And it's really, really not true. That kind of person still really wants connection very, very much, but there's so much pain associated with connection. And I have seen this with clients, and it just breaks my heart. I know, again, I experience it too, especially in conflict. When I feel like someone is coming closer to me, I feel that sense of threat. I just want to go away. I want to flee. I want to shut down. And that's what I do. And in that moment, it's so powerful to actually say, and I have said it to my ex-husband before, I've said, I don't feel safe right now. Like all of a sudden, I don't feel safe. Like, please back away. So you see how instead of being physically present, but emotionally checking out, I was able to use my words and to say that. So there are kind of, two ways that we can work with these things. There's the behavioral changes that, of course, we want to make incrementally. So, for example, if you find that transitioning from your numbing mechanism, again, I'm going to use work because I feel like that one is like so popular and so many of us do it, If you find that finishing your workday and then entering connection, entering more intimate relationships feels really hard on your system, you can transition in a different way. Maybe you can do a somatic practice that regulates you. Maybe you can do a little meditation. Maybe you can walk in nature, just like a little ritual that marks the transition. Because again, as a child, you've experienced that connection is actually painful. There are many ways that your needs are just completely invisible. So of course you want to numb out. Now, as an adult, what you're doing is you are numbing out the childhood pain, right? Because your current most intimate relationships remind you of that pain, which makes sense because this is how we work, right? It is the spirituality, the mysticism of relationships. We're always choosing relationships that remind us of that so that we can transform it together as in partnership with friends, with whoever you know is close to you, family, you know, colleagues, and of course your partner. And so, you know, just remember that this kept you safe. So transitioning out of that is like quite a big ordeal. It is not simple, right? And we have to take baby steps. And it's especially important for avoidant attachment because in avoidant attachment, we're numb. So we're kind of more in the closer to the freeze state. And if you're pushing yourself really, really hard, you're just gonna get more frozen. You're gonna be more reluctant to get closer, to receive that connection, right? So again, small, tiny behavioral changes. Something I've told clients before is like, can you tell a friend that you're starting to get close to about this? Like, hey, you know, sometimes connection's like really overwhelming for me. I know that might sound weird, but if I don't answer your text or if I don't call you back or whatever behavior I'm doing, just know that has nothing to do with you. It's just me. It's just my thing that I'm working on. And that can be so beautiful and healing. And slowly opening up to connection, right? Like very, very slowly. It's like when there's conflict for me, I can't resolve it immediately because my system just gets so overwhelmed. So maybe I ask for a little break, right? And I say, hey, I'll be back in an hour and then we can sit down and resolve this. Maybe I process a lot because something that happens again with avoidance strategies is numbing. Like all of a sudden you feel nothing, but there are so many emotions under there. And so taking the time to sit with them and feel them and then come back into conversation is really helpful in the avoidant spectrum. And just remember that you could have avoidance strategies for particular people, for particular interactions, but you could even have anxious strategies with the same people with, you know, different kinds of interactions. So it's just one strategy that fits one particular thing. So now I want to share with you a level deeper. A level deeper is, what is the pain, the childhood pain that is hiding under my numbing, right? Because this is really the heart of it. There is a childhood pain that is hiding under the numbing. And I'm going to put some reflection questions for you to sit with. You can journal, you can meditate on them, but this is really what it's about. Now, once you get through those questions, you're going to start to get an idea of what is it? What is the missing need? What is the emotion that is just coming to the surface? And then I don't want to face this. Like, I'm going to work. I'm going to drink. I'm going to scroll. I'm going to shop, whatever. I'm going to go for a walk even and just focus on nature, which is not inherently bad. But if we're doing it to consistently run away from intimacy, then we start getting the issue, right? So remember to be very compassionate with this part of yourself. And the practice that I suggest to you, and you could do this physically, like literally create this as a little ritual, or you can meditate on this and kind of visualize it, is to take a container. You can create a container, or you can, again, visualize a container of your choosing, and to put this pain or this need into this container. So for example, a need could be to feel seen. So if you're a workaholic, you actually feel seen in your work, but you're also using your work to numb against not having been seen in your childhood. And this is so painful. And so even though you feel seen in your work a little bit, it might not be really what you want, because what you want the most is for your partner or your best friends to do that for you, right? To see you, to meet that need. And there's a lot of pain associated with it. And that pain actually doesn't allow them to even know that you desire this. So you're going to put this in the container. You're going to put whatever it might be. Maybe it's sadness. Maybe it's feeling seen, feeling heard, feeling understood. You can write it down. You can take an object that reminds you of it. You're going to put it in the container. And you're going to place this container at a distance from you that feels safe. Because again, this is very overwhelming to be with. And you're going to play around a few times a week, taking steps towards the container. And when you do this, I want you to feel resourced. And what I mean by that is to have a person with you, to have a fictional character with you that makes you feel very loved and calm and, supported. And it can be physical, like you can literally ask a friend, like, hey, can you hold my hand while I'm walking toward this container? That would be a really beautiful ritual to do together. Or it could also be in your mind. You're inviting someone that feels very safe to your system to accompany you through this process. And each time, don't push yourself too hard. You just get a little closer, right? A little closer to the container until one day you actually get to open the container and be with this thing. And again, please don't push yourself, because I don't want you to go into freeze, right? Into freeze where you're like, oh my God, this was so overwhelming. I never want to do this again. Okay, so remember that. And last thing I want to tell you is, if you want this full practice, I actually recorded it as an audio practice. I have a beautiful monthly community called Heart Space. It's a monthly membership community where I upload practices every month. So there's a humongous library in there already. I do 2 lives per month. And there are so many resources, reflection questions, somatic practices, and past replays on many different topics like childhood emotional neglect and attachment styles and receiving support and nervous system regulation and all of the good things. It's super affordable. It's a beautiful space. You can connect with fellow humans working on themselves, and it's very vulnerable. We share from the heart. Even I do. I also use that space. I very much adore this community. So please check it out. Thank you so much for being here. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. I plan on now creating weekly videos for you. So please subscribe and come over here and hang out with me every week.